There are many islands famous for hosting a good time. If you're old enough, you'll remember Gilligan's Island. Or for something more current, how about Survivor Island? Heck, I just saw a great King Kong movie called Skull Island. But in the iRacing universe, there is one island with a reputation for drama. The SRF Weekend Warrior Championships comes to Phillip Island for round 8 of 12 on the Season 5 schedule. G'day, mates, and welcome to the Global SimRacing Channel and Countdown to Green. Way up in the press box to bring you our Word's Eye view is yours truly, Bill Soupson, joined by Adam Forever Young. Down in the production van, turning the knobs and pushing the sliders is the hardest working man in sim race broadcasting, Joe Peak, armed with cameras located, aimed, zoomed, and focused by GSRC's camera guru, Dougie Beard. As cyberspace flows into your place over these 10 streaming award-worthy minutes, GSRC will bring you all the storylines, all the stats and facts you'll need to appreciate round 8 of the Weekend Warriors SRF series that will immediately follow as we count down to green. And now let me reintroduce my booth mate, Mr. Young, to tell us about today's racetrack. Adam, what do you have for us?
Yeah, well, of course, Phillips Island, if you've ran any kind of road course racing on iRacing, you've probably been to Phillips Island at least once or twice. Of course, running the normal Grand Prix layout, 12 turns over 2.762 miles or 4.445 kilometers for you folks. And of course, Phillips Island, located just off the coast of Southeast Australia. Track opened in 1956 and kind of fell apart twice, but 1988 is when this track really became known as what we know here for today with the current layout. Decreasing radius turns all over the place. Really, you need a lot of flow in order to get around this place. And that's one thing, too, that's a little bit harder in these SRFs that you see in the Weekend Warrior series. So that'll be something to keep an eye on as well, because mistakes will be at least costly as far as time, although you do have the benefit of a lot of runoff here. So let's go ahead and take a lap around the Phillips Island in the GSRC SRF.
Alright, we've got Kevin Brown in the GSRC SRF, so let's do a lap around Phillip Island. This long front straightaway is going to create draft battles all day, so don't be surprised to see cars 2 and 3 wide. However, coming up to Doohan, the first corner, it's going to get very hairy when cars aren't single file. It's barely a lift through here, and the SRF has some serious off-throttle oversteer. After that, you have to quickly get set up for the southern loop. This is a very long corner that both has a rise in elevation and a very late apex, so it's extremely easy to get the power too early and understeer off into the weeds. If you got it right, you'll be in a good position to set up a pass into the hairpin. But before you reach that, you'll need to gently steer it into Stoner. Unfortunately, this kink can make it hard to tell if a driver plans to defend down into Honda, so be wary of your opponent's intentions. On the exit, you can use all of this AstroTurf on the outside, so don't be afraid to let the car drift pretty far out. From there, it's a short run to Siberia, which has some very unique characteristics. It's an uphill climb with lots of banking, but it's such a long corner that you'll want to square off the apex very late. This is going to be super important now that you're on the backside of the circuit, because it's a long ways until you lift off the power. The car is going to weave gently left and then to the right through 7 and 8, but keep holding right to set yourself up for lukey heights. The track is going to climb and climb, but get tighter and tighter, so some lifting will be necessary. That's because you definitely want the car to hug the left curb as you plunge back downhill into the braking for turn 10. This is a sharp hairpin with a good bit of camber, but once again, it's an incredibly important exit. You won't be lifting again until you reach Doohan. Hold left around 11, then track out to give the widest entry you can into 12. This is the final corner, and once again, the banking allows you to carry lots and lots of speed. And you're going to need it now that we've hit the long pit straight. As long as you've kept it on the black stuff and pointed forward, you've now finished a lap around Phillip Island.
Joe Peak talking us around Phillip Island. So 7 races in the books. Let's go ahead and take a look how the point standing. Now, since we've last seen the SRF Weekend Warriors here on GSRC, they visited Okayama. That's another leg in the Australasian tour, where once again Austin Winter had the kind of result that he's named for, picking up his 3rd victory of the season. But Austin's a bit shy. 2 of those victories came in unbroadcasted races. Now remember, these standings take into account the 3 of the 4 possible drop races allowed for in the rules, indicated by the droplets above the points. So with that, let's look and see how we stand here. Austin Winter leads not only in the drop race points, but also in the raw points as well. Demetrius Houdaloudas, he really gets the benefit of drop races. As he picks up several, you see that he has 0 in his pocket, though, as he's burned all his bad results. Jerry McAreevy actually falls down a spot. He's second in the raw points, 3rd when you take into account drop races. He's got 15 in his pocket, so if disaster strikes, he's got a few there. Another driver benefiting from drop races, Richard Yallen. He's at 6th overall, but when you take into account bad results, he moves up into 4th. And Steven Nelson, he's got 10 in his pocket. Look for him. He's really fast. That's probably a little bit farther down the list than you might think. All right, we've talked about the points, gone over the track. Let's go to Adam one more time to tell us about the event details.
Yeah, Soup. Of course, this is round 8 of 12 of the Weekend Warrior series here. Now, they do get 4 drops in this series, so pretty much your best 2/3 of the races is what counts for you. And we're running the Spec Racer Ford, and these are open setups with these cars. Now, that is with 30% fuel, though, which actually works out to be about 30 minutes worth of fuel for the 40-minute race here for today. We are expecting 1 pit stop to get these guys through the day. There is no incident cap in this series, but they do get 2 faster pairs. And Soup, that is one place here where you might get lucky, maybe have a lot of runoff, but if you do find yourself in the tires, at least you got the faster pair to kind of get you back going. Now, of course, the weather in this series is set up in the dynamic setting for iRacing. Now, we are running under partly cloudy skies, 69 degrees for the air temperature, track temperature at 95 degrees. Now, humidity is at 64%, so the engines will be just a touchdown on power, and they might need it, particularly in those places where you're facing into the wind here for today, with that wind screaming out of the northwest at 25 miles an hour. And so, Soup, wind definitely going to play a role here today.
Yeah, it's and in the iRacing universe, 25 miles an hour, it can get maybe even a little bit more than that when all things are said and done, huh?
Yeah, and that's one thing I've learned through setting up my own races and stuff like that, that the iRacing, iRacing's wonderful, but one place where there's a little bit of deficiency is the wind modeling. And so that 25-mile-an-hour wind probably actually is going to be more in relation to 35 to 40 miles an hour, maybe even a touch more in how the physics works with these cars. So that is a lot of wind. That's like a West Texas wind. That's like the wind where I'm from out here. So I'm used to that, but not going to be used to that down there in Australia here today.
I was in a race once early on where the wind was heavy, very gusty, and you would watch the car ahead of you, and when you saw it veer off to one side or the other, you would turn into the wind that wasn't there. You could kind of use the car ahead of you to judge the wind. Qualifying
so
underway.
Pulling the old Dale Earnhardt and being able to see the air in front of you, right?
Basically, I was doing that, yes. But, well, yeah, when I saw a car blow off the track, I knew to turn the other way. Turn into the gust. Let's go ahead and look at the qualifying that's going on right now. It's open qualifying. Felipe Chavin sitting at the top of the list. Jason Perry behind him, just off by a few hundredths of a second.
Yeah, pretty tight up front. I mean, it looks like here your top 10 are all separated only by about a second. So expect a lot of close competition, especially at the top of this field. And that wind, me, Joe, our director, and we were all talking a while ago about how that wind can play an effect into the draft here today. So if it's a tight field up front, yeah, they're going to be pretty close.
30 drivers' names on the entry list. 28 have put in qualifying time. Some big names that are here: Richard Yalin, Jerry McAreevy, and Demetrius Houdaloutis. He sits here, but some big names that are missing. We don't see Elson or Winner. They sit up in the points doing well, but of course there are drop races, so they can go ahead and just wave this one off. Looking at Michael Shaw, currently in 8th position.
These guys run times comparable to what they ran to in practice also. No real big surprises when you looked at the practice times compared to what you're seeing in qualifying. So once again, expecting a pretty close race here at the top. Soup, as you know from Phillips Island, there's a lot of places too where when you get in, especially in the rhythmic sections, oh man, I can't talk. It really stands to tighten up, especially these slower type cars. Is that kind of what you're thinking here today as far as seeing close fields going through?
Yeah, I think we're going to look at a draft pack usually because there's just not a lot of power. You and I have done a lot of MX-5s and Skippy races here. It's hard to pull away. Look for passing going into Doohan number 1, and then, of course, into Honda. That's always great, that right-hand hairpin. What I do want to see the drivers try to do is get it straightened out before they get up into Lukey Heights. Start going too wide up there. Sometimes you get a little confused about who owns what part of the track. Looking at David Gaspers. Now, Dave, go ahead.
I was going to say, David Gaspers comes in, not even setting a practice time, just jumps right into the car and ends up putting it third on the grid here so far. So, pretty good time there, David. Oh, of course, we're hearing that he had a little bit of an advantage as far as maybe working that air.
Yeah, well, that's what open qualifying is all about. Compared to looking for clean tracks, sometimes you want to find somebody you can get a toe off of. Qualifying just about done. And as it ends up, there are 28 drivers that put in qualifying times. 2 of them did not, Antonio Rees and the Four Seasons Richie Valley. And here's Michael Shaw putting in his last lap. See if he can do it. He's just coming out of Swan Corner right now. They're going to give him a little extra time here. Open qualifying, they let the drivers finish their hot lap. He's in 9th position, and that's where he's going to stay. Another driver coming around is Sancinelli. There we go. Adam, there's a name we know as Edgar Sancinelli.
Yeah. Very familiar with Edgar Sancinelli from Absolute Beginners League and a few other series and all that. Of course, talk about Absolute Beginners League. We got their Race of Champions coming up here before too long. I'm sure he'll be taking the pace car out. We'll see if he puts it on its lid again.
That's where Edgar Sancinelli can really shine. He is by far the most exciting pace car driver. If you don't understand what we're talking about, the Absolute Beginners All-Star Race coming up. Race of Champions. That's a fun event, a little special event that they do. Looking at Jason Dunnington He's sitting in 10th, and I just don't think he's going to be able to do much here. His qualifying just about wrapping up. David Gaspers is a driver we got familiar with here in we used to cover Saturday races, a multi-class event where they race the SRFs and the Skippies and the MX-5s all together. Gasper did very well there, as did Jason Perry. Good to see the SRF getting a little bit of love now. It's a fun little car. You don't, it's forgotten about sometimes, Adam.
Yeah, it's just got its little quirks, and but once you get used to them, and it really is a fun car to drive. You just got to remember, not a whole lot of downforce, and a little bit of a motor that you wish would carry a little bit further. Maybe it should carry a little bit further than what it does, but all in all, what it does is it works out to a pretty good balanced race car.
Do a lot of steering of the car with your throttle foot, though, as getting on and off the throttle throws the weight forward and back, makes the back will come around on you if you get off of the throttle too quickly. All right, qualifying is all done. Let's go ahead and run down the grid. We'll take them 10 at a time here. Up on the top, well, he's been on the pole for most of the qualifying, Felipe Chavin. He's going to be inside of David Gaspers. Row 2 is populated by Jason Perry and Jordan Dixon. Richard Yallen, he's coming on strong late in the points. As of late, he sits 5th. He's going to be inside of Timitrios Hudaludis. Jerry McAreevy in 7th position inside of Edward Doherty. Row 5 filled up by Michael Shaw, flanked by Jason Donington.
Yeah, coming in at row 6 is going to be Alejandro Liro. Daniel Sadra starting alongside him. And then going to row 7, Jose Castillo. And starting alongside him will be Fred Desay. And then row 8 is going to belong to Johan van Wendt, and then Robert Plumley with him, Tom Gradwell, and then Matthew Dont, and Wayne Palmer and Ryan Sorrell will round out the top 20.
Blackjack is Mihail Vasilescu in the double duck spots. C-Love, Neil Dawkins, and Christopher Keeble make up 23rd and 24th. Quarter century mark goes to John Kern, Jeff Cantor behind him, Gary Woolboth and Edgar Sanchinelli go 27th to 28th. Two drivers that did not put in qualifying times, Antonio Reese and Richard Valley. 30 drivers on the entry list. Let's see if they all grid up. Reese is out there, as is Valley, so we know we'll have at least the back row filled up. It's a bit windy. It's round 8 of 12. In the SRF Weekend Warrior Series, GSRC has covered the majority of these events. Good to have you with us this afternoon here from Australia, mate.
Just got done hanging out with a bunch of Australians for a good chunk of the last week. Hey, you folks are interesting. I love you guys. Interesting
pair of teammates down there in the cars as we're looking at some interesting painted cars. Can we look at the driver in 7th? This is Jerry McAreevy, and he's got his teammate next to him there, Edward Doherty. Both similarly painted machines. We're working here. There, you can see them right there. They take each side of row number 4.
See, and I also like Jason Perry's scheme there, the old Spider-Man scheme. Peter Parker written on the back of it. See, I really like it because he has Spider-Man's eyes set up to be like headlights.
Oh, I got it. I got it.
No Infinity War spoilers here, by the way, because I haven't seen it myself yet.
And then we're looking at Jordan Dixon interesting enough, in an old Jordan scheme. This series always puts on a good show. What we'll be watching as they come down, this is one of the best passing zones down here, and sometimes if they come into Honda, the sharp right-hander, a lot of times the pass starts here, and it'll go all the way around through 5, through that sweeping left-hander that is Siberia, and it really won't get settled until they get up, start to climb up to Lukey Heights. But again, that's where you get up into 9, you want to go side by side up there. Got to make sure you trust the guy you're racing with. And there is another fun corner that we don't talk about. I've learned it as called the MG corner. It's It's that dip. It's corner number 10. It's that sharp right-hander. They'll be coming up to it in just a minute. Can make for a sneaky pass coming up here. Now they work their way through number 9. This is Lukey Heights, sweeping left-hander. And then, Adam, they go down the hill.
Yeah, the elevation changes, like you don't expect it to be too much, just kind of looking at it right off the grid and all that, especially if it's your first time. But you get in this last third of the track, you're going up and going back down and everything else. And those elevation changes, especially these light cars with not a lot of downforce, I mean, it could very well upset some of these SRFs today. So that's going to be a place to watch.
And then if you are on the last lap and you're in second or third, the start-finish line is far enough down the straightaway where you can make a run at it. But right now, gather at the chickens and take cover behind the cows because the horses are out of the barn. And it's Felipe Chavin leading the stampede of SRFs down into Doohan. Oh, a pass for the lead right away, getting the draft. He's going to tuck in there and get it. That's David Gaspers. Chavin back to second. Perry, Dixon, and Hootaludis round out your top 5.
Ooh, we do got one car off the racetrack back here. He manages to get it back on and keep it straight. That was Fred to say. We'll look at that a little bit later, but I think everybody, for the most part, was able to get through the first couple corners.
Now they go through this little sweeping kink here of Stoner Corner as they head down into the first heavy braking zone, down into Honda. Get it gathered up. Chavin takes a defensive line, holds Perry off for second position. Single file all the way through. A few cars side by side, but they're doing a really good job of getting through. All the way back to 28th, which Richard Valley, caboose of the train.
Very, very well behaved most of the first lap here. Still a couple of side-by-side battles. Jorn Van Went and Robert Plumley back here fighting side-by-side. That's really your first one going back through the field. And they're about back there in like 14th, 15th position. But as I look, Jason Donington taking a look on Michael Shaw, but wisely pulls back in place. In fact, he ended up, I think, with a little bit of damage on his nose. Might have got into him just a touch, but nothing serious there as both cars continue on going straight.
And went back in a few spots behind where we're looking in 12th. Off Plumley.
Edgar Sancinelli, I think, overran. Can't see which corner it is, but he's getting back on the racetrack here.
Luis Castillo got a little bit of a love tap from Fred Dreisix. They get that workout. Dreisix loses a position. He's going to fall back into 16th. As the leaders come around.
Leader is off the track. David Gaspers puts a wheel off, and that's going to allow Felipe Chavin and Jason Perry, that entire gang back there, to get right back up on his rear bumper.
McAreevy in 6 is trying to take a peek on Yolland. Yolland doing a good job holding it off. The train looks to be 6 deep with McAreevy as the caboose. He has about 1 second gap back to Everett Doherty. Doherty doing his best. Look at behind him as they go 3 wide back in. Go to 9th position. Oh, getting loose is Donington. He catches it in the 88 machine. He's going to lose a ton of position. 1 to Lent, 1 to Lero. Plumley gets by. Sabro gets by. Good catch from Donington. He keeps the car going straight, but he loses about 5 position now in 13th. McAreevy continues to pester Yolland. McAreevy sitting 3rd in the points when drop races are considered. We would like to get a result here. Yolland also inside the top 5. They dive down into the MG corner. Let's stay on this a bit. Let's see if Chavin or Perry want to make a move. There should be plenty of time to be in the toe.
Daniel Sadro is off track. It looks like the back end decided to come around on him and able to keep it out of everything, but he was facing the wrong directions and had to let almost the entire field go by before he was able to get it straightened out.
Right in front of his teammate, Robert Plumley.
Robert Plumley had to do a heck of a job in the corner to miss him. I think he had to lift quite a bit.
And sure enough, the pass is done. Felipe Chavin makes the pass, going down into the Doohan corner. He gets that as they work down into the southern loop now. Perry, Hootaludis, Yolland still holding off McAreevy. And look at this. Here comes Edward Doherty. He's trying his very best to catch up. Now only 0.6 of a second behind his McAreevy, his teammate.
And looks like David Gasper's trying to go back to the lead here, and this time he might bring Dimitris Holdasis with him here as well, but instead Jason Perry is going to have the preferred line and might even be able to take third here and has his eyes set him maybe second.
Perry racing in third when they cross the start-finish line, trying to see if he can get that spot. It was Hudaludis who was trying to get up there as they were 2 by 2 going into Honda. Now they work their way up through 7 and 8, heading up into Lukey Heights. Look at this. Here comes Gasper. This is not the place where I'd like to see it pass. This could get scary. Gasper getting on the inside of Lukey Heights. They get it sorted out. Let me correct myself. Gasper makes the pass. Chavin straightens himself out, lets the pass be made. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like I know that's not exactly the preferred spot, but I don't think he really had much of a choice there because if he let off the gas, he was going to lose 2 or 3 spots additionally easy. But he knows that he was able to trust Chavin and be able to go through there the way they did, and everybody comes out better for it.
We ride on board with Hudaludis right now. Here comes the pass finally. Can we go back to 6th position? Finally, these guys in these kind of lemon-striped cars. I guess they're lime-striped. This is McAreevy making a move on the outside of Yolland. He's got his teammate trying to give him a little help. Boy, he cannot get that pass done. Richard Yolland does a good job of hanging on to 5th. My gosh. Adam Doherty, who did his very best to catch up. Look at the gap from Doherty now back all the way back to Jean Van Went.
Oh, we got an accident up here. Antonio Reese, Robert Plumley, it looks like, Ryan Sorrell, multi-car accident. Looks like...
yeah. I think it starts with Desai. Yeah, Desai gets off track, and then he comes back. Watch this as he goes off. Where are you going? By the time he gathers his back up, it's right in front of everybody else.
Yeah, then Robert Plumley ends up losing it in front too. Desai loses it up there. Sea-Love involved in that. Antonio Reese, as I mentioned, had damage. And trying to figure out who the blue car was. Ryan Sorrell was the blue car that also got turned around and all that. So, first major incident of the day.
Not sure if we'll ride on board with Sea-Love. Not sure if there was much that Desai could have done there. When the car's out on the grass, it's hard to get it to go any direction. Boy, Sea-Love takes a good shot. All right, we're back live. It's Gasper, Chavin, Perry, Hudaludis. McAreevy has finally made the pass on Yolland. Left his teammate behind back there in 7th of Edward Doherty. Those 7 have pulled away. Not sure if Jan Van Went, he's trying his very best to get caught up with the guys. He's going to need that front 7 to start battling if he has any chance to make it an 8-car train.
I will say, Soup, the one thing that I am seeing so far that's really surprising to me is the amount of bump drafting going on in the front straightaway. Particularly, I just watched Michael Shaw literally push Jason Dunnington almost the entire way going down the front.
The Spider-Man car has fallen back to 4th. That's Jason Perry as Hudaludis gets around him. We can say that. And we're looking right there. We have a report of another off. We'll see if we can find it. Oh, yeah, look at this. We'll get the replay right here. And watch as he comes back on. Then if we can stroll back to Wayne Palmer right in front of him. Look at this. You'll see Wayne Palmer in the grass. There he is. Almost got into the scoring tower there. Unrelated spin. There he got it straightened up. Really not much of a tower, more of a scoring shed. Little stewards. Yeah, little stewards marshals there, kind of, where they keep their lemonade. And their bloomin' onions.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. That sounds good right now. One thing I'm noticing, Sue, particularly in the back half of the field from about 10th on back, those cars are really starting to get squirrely out there now. These tires have a couple laps on them. I'd imagine with the track temperature being what it is today and also the fact that those winds pushing against the car, I'm going to imagine tire wear is going to play a pretty big role.
All right, let's go ahead and highlight our hard charger in 12th position, Antonio Reese. Actually, I guess he is. Yes, he's in 12th right now. Started in 29th, one of those drivers that didn't put in a qualifying time. This goes against my religion to give a guy credit for a hard charger that wasn't able to put in a clean lap qualifying. Nevertheless, racing in 12th. Can we go to Gary Wolbolt right as we spot? Going down the straight, I'm not sure what Gary had trouble there. Of all the places to lose the car, I guess he got it coming out of Swan.
Hey. And while that's going on, up front, Soup, we do have a new leader with Dimitris Halidosas taking the lead.
Boy, you could see
oof
on that replay because the Wolbolt really working hard to keep that car going straight on the grass. He couldn't get it. Then he does a little bit of a roll.
A little bit.
All right, so Dimitrios Houdoulidis out in front. Gaspers in second, Perry in third in the Spider-Man car. Felipe Chavin, your pole sitter, back to fourth. McAreevy in fifth.
I know this will be the second time I've brought up a NASCAR race at a road course, but I remember a couple of years ago, I can't remember if it was Kentucky or Kansas, but Joe Nemechek getting caught and rolled over real quick, and all four angles of the car, both back, front, top, and bottom, and all four corners of the car were all jacked up. Oh. He still drove that thing back.
Oh, let's go to John Van Wendt in 8th position. He's now back to 10th. This is an interesting way to enter the pits. Let's go get a replay of this one. This is really... We'll see if we can back up and watch this one as the car gets loose. And sometimes the car says, it's time for you to pit. He's out here. Whoa! And, all right. That'll work. Is he in his
style point, Soup? That's what that was.
Yeah, remember now, he was the driver in 8th position trying to catch up to the drivers in front. He had lost ground. They were gaining behind him. Yeah. And so, as we documented, Dimitrios Houdoulidis out in front. But look behind him. This is Perry now being pushed by Chavin. Chavin gives him a good bump. Gaspers on the inside as they work through Honda corner. They continue to swap those spots. Perry now. This is the farthest Perry has been up. He's up to second. Gaspers, I believe the German driver racing back there in third. I apologize if it's Austrian. Or it's possibly Swiss as well. Chavin back in fourth. McAreevy, Yalin. Let's stay on this a bit. We'll see Houdoulidis as they come around through the MG corner. Let's see what happens to the leaders. Houdoulidis has a nice lead right now. The guys behind him, I think, Adam, are going to have to play nice if they want to catch up.
Yeah, it's definitely the biggest lead we've seen all day here so far. Now, it's not a huge lead by any stretch, but it's enough that those guys really do got to start trying to play a little bit nicer. And might be a case where David Gaspers maybe doesn't want to push Jason Perry, but he's going to do just that. He's going to take a look onto the outside here, going through one, and see if he's able to cut down in front of Jason Perry. He's just going to go ahead and slot back in behind him and get back into that draft.
Yeah, if Perry puts up a fight there, it only costs them time back up to the leader. That interval, 0.4 of a second in dropping, and they're back there now. It's going to be hard for one driver to run away with these guys so equally matched. 6-car train up front. And finally, Edward Doherty beginning to lose touch, as he is now 1.6 seconds behind the front six. But he's got about 5 seconds back to Michael Shaw. Let's look back. We haven't talked much about this. This is back in 8th. Michael Shaw in a battle with Alejandro Lero. Stay on this one for a little while as they go into Siberia. I've heard this corner is called Siberia because if you get off on the grass, by the time you get back on the track, you might as well be in Siberia. Okay. Now I'm being told that maybe it's because it's so far out there, it feels like Siberian is up in the wind. Alejandro trying to make a move in ninth, not going to be able to get up on Michael.
I don't know. I think for something to be called Siberian, it has to at least get cold at least once or twice a year.
And you see them coming down the main straight. Let's go back up to the leader.
Gasper's having himself a good run on Dimitrios here, coming down the front straightaway.
He made the pass on Perry the last time. He does the exact same move on Hudaludis. And now let's move David Gasper up to the pole, up to the front. And he puts in his fastest lap to do it. 6 cars up in front. We don't think we're in the window yet, which is bad news for some of the guys like Gary Wolbort, who made an early pit stop. Remember, we saw John Van Vent. He pitted when he got the car off on the grass. And Jorn's going to have to work hard now. Not sure he's in the window. Six cars up in front. Edward Doherty behind him. And 7th trying to run him down. There's your lead train. With about 24 minutes of racing to go, this should be close enough to the middle third of the race where anybody who wants to pit can. I'm not sure if you're one of these guys that you can afford to pit unless you really know you're faster. Maybe Felipe Chavin might think about getting out of the train and running some hot laps and losing them. But the problem is, Adam, if he does that, he's going to find himself in traffic.
Yeah, there's probably going to be a lot of traffic. I mean, these guys right now are running several tenths faster than what they were doing earlier on by themselves. So, yeah, I think that you'll be looking at this lead crew probably coming down pit road together here later.
And Hudaludis goes back and takes the lead, and that's one of the things that makes the laps so fast, is they can get that slingshot down the main straight, pick up 3 or 4 car lengths. Let's leave the front 6 for a minute, go back and see if we can highlight some people in a battle that we haven't given much love to. Scrolling back. Let's look at 12th position, Ryan Sorrell in a battle here with Jose Castillo. His name is so long, it's Jose Luis Oviedo de Castillo, and then it goes on, but all we see is Mo, so we've decided his nickname is Mo, and he likes it. He said, we like Mo, so it's Ryan Sorrell leading Mo.
And what were Dimitrios putting a wheel off there, kicking up a little bit of dust. But what was once a 7 car up front is kind of more turned into a 6 car, as Edward Doherty has kind of lost touch with that lead pack and started to actually fall back a little bit there. The car immediately behind him is a lap down, but Michael Shaw back there a couple seconds behind him.
The top 18 cars yet to come in. Bjorn Van Vent, the driver who made that early stop, not sure if he was in the window as the car decided to pit for him. He's back in 19th. He was racing up in about 11th when he came in for a stop. Let's drop back to 20th. Give a little love to... oh, no, we'll stay on this for a minute. This is good. This top 6 continue to swap positions. Adam, I think you're right. I think when the leader decides to come in, that's when everybody else will as well.
Yeah, I think the only exception that you might see with that is assuming when that time comes, if guys like Richard Yalin and Chauvin are still back there on the back part of that pack, I wouldn't be surprised to see them together maybe try to go an extra lap because they've been saving some fuel here lately. But they won't be able to do it for long. Quite a bit of a checkup right there.
That was Gaspers who was really going over the inside curves of Honda, and it kind of backs everybody up. Yeah, remember your pole sitter is Chauvin, and if he can go one extra lap with clear traffic and the pace that he has, he might want to stay out there, and maybe Yalin can stay with him and help him.
Yeah, and see, the reasoning behind that is, it's like, as long as you don't lose a lot of time, just that very small, maybe second or two difference in fueling, that little bit less fuel that you would need to get through to the rest of the race could be enough to move them from the back part of the pack to the front part of the pack. But they're going to have to play their cards right in order to try to make a move like that, and that could backfire on you very easily.
The theory being, even though they all start with the same amount of fuel, the guys up front that are doing the serious racing, like Gaspers and Hootalutus, are burning more fuel making these passes, and they'll need to take a little more. The guys in the back could be lifting. Perry, McAreeby, Chauvin, and Yalin for that matter as well.
Yeah, because you notice Chauvin, I mean, yeah, he was up here running hard earlier, but he hasn't made much of an effort to get right back up there. I think he knows.
Side by side into Doohan. And let's give the lead this time to Gaspers, and they all pick up behind him. Yalin, the caboose of the train, he's got about 5 seconds back to Edward Doherty. Doherty did his very best to hang on as long. Oh, wait a minute. Let me correct myself. Is that Doherty? So there's Yalin. And then, yeah, Doherty has lost touch, yeah. Doherty about 5 seconds back in 7th. Waiting for the pit cycle to come in. Battle up front continues as they 6 race in line. Let's go to 13th. This is Daniel Sadro being chased by Matthew Dant. Sadro started in 12th. He's dropped a spot back to 13th. Dant, on the other hand, 18th, up 4 spots. Oh, you can see them lock it up as they go down into the MG corner. Adam, our director, makes a good point about looking at the smoke. It really tells you how windy it is.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's not hanging around long at all, and these cars are moving around a lot because of it too, because you don't really spend a lot of time here facing one single direction. So most of the time around this track, that wind is pushing against this car at different angles.
Let's give a little love back to 19th. This is Robert Sugar Plumley being chased by C. Love. Now, C. Love very fast, but he had some trouble early. I wonder if the car's not feeling well. And here comes Edward Doherty. Remember, Doherty had lost touch with the lead train. He's going to come in. If I was Doherty, if I was really just interested in maybe catching back up, I might think about short filling here. See if I can get back on the back of the train and then just kind of light-footed around the rest of the way. Now, remember, it was Von Wendt who had that stop early. Von Wendt is going to blow by him. No, he's not. Nope. Doherty is out first. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong car. So Doherty makes the stop. He's going to cycle out in 15th. Von Wendt about 3.5 seconds behind. Von Wendt has been out there for 7 laps. Again, we're not sure if Jorn can get to the end. Round number 8 of the SRF Weekend Warrior series here from Phillip Island. The story for the whole race has been the train up front. It's all a matter of when you check in to see who's leading. Right now, it's David Gaspers. Demetrius Hootalutus behind him. Those guys have been swapping spots. Jason Perry was as high as 2nd. Right now, Spider-Man happy to sit back there in 3rd.
And now Chauvin has moved back completely to the tail end of the pack now, sitting back there in 6th.
Yeah, look at that. That's something's fishy in Denmark as we have another pass for the lead up front. Gaspers is going to hang on to it. McAreedy in 4th, Yalin in 5th, and like Adam pointed out, our
Gasper's really loose in front of the pack there. Ooh, that wasn't a bigger checkup than what it ended up being. It looked major looking at his car, but I'm surprised it didn't look worse from there on right along with Yalin.
And again, we mentioned it a few times. It is gusty. It is windy. Boy, this is a great shot. Would not be surprised to see these guys come in soon. Leader of all the cars who pitted, Edward Doherty, racing in 15th position. Top 14 drivers yet to come in. Let's go to 11th position real quick. As we saw this battle between Sandro and Sorel. Well, Sandro has made the pass. He moves up into 11th. Ryan Sorel back there in 12th now as they work their way through Honda. Top 6 drivers still all on a chance to win. The rest of these guys are pretty much are racing for the position they're at. And we have a takeover.
We got Gaspers coming in, Perry, and McGreevy. They're all coming down pit road.
So they split it. 3 come in, 3 stay down. Unfortunately, Hootalutas is a long way ahead of Yalin and Chauvin. I'm not sure if those guys are going to get any help at all in the draft. The rest of the 3, Gasper is going to have the top spot. He pulls in first. Perry right behind him. About 3 pit stalls back is Jerry McAreeby. What Jerry needs to do, as soon as he sees those guys in front go, he's got to go. Look at this. Really slow is going to be Gaspers. David wanted to make sure he took enough petrol. First out is going to be Jason Perry. Do they come out in front of the other cars? They must be ahead of
they're
bidders. Yeah, Ben
well ahead, and already Gasper's making a move here on McGreevy.
Well, these guys cannot horse around here, and we're talking about Perry. They've got to put in a hot lap. They are racing the cars that are on the other side of the track right now. Hootaluta continues now a whole second ahead. He is getting no help. Yalin and Chauvin, they are separated by a large margin.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to come in now. I think all 3 of those guys, the top 3 are going to have to come in this lap to avoid losing a lot of time.
Because not only are Perry and Gaspers and McAreeby out there, they got clean track in front of them. They got no traffic to worry about. All right, here comes Demetrius. As he's been listening to the broadcast, he says, I've got to come in, as does Yalin, as does Chauvin. Now, keep an eye on the 59. This pit entry, Adam, you got to be careful here. You can make up some time, but you can lose some time, too.
Yeah, you really can. I mean, it's another one of those Phillip Island-type places where there isn't a lot to hit there if you do go off, but you will lose a ton of time because that grass is slick, and you will end up facing the wrong direction and have trouble facing back the right direction.
Now, their pit boxes are determined by how they qualified. So, Felipe Chauvin will have the top spot. He is in his box. Meanwhile, the other guys have come out of Swan Corner. They are side by side. It's Perry and Gasper side by side with McAreeby watching them. Hootalutas is out. He is out ahead of him. Look at this. Here comes Yalin. Hootalutas is going to be gobbled up. No, he gets into Doohan first. He can play defense. Yalin was able to tuck into 5th. Chauvin, your pole sitter, is the guy who's got to hustle. He is 3 seconds behind Yalin now.
Yeah, unless something happens in this top pack now, I think Chauvin's chances are just about done.
Yep.
I'm wondering if he ended up taking the full amount of fuel instead of just trying to shave a little bit off there.
His stops in the box is the same, and his cone to cone is respectable. Now, there were some differences. Hootaludis was in there about 12 seconds. Gasper about 12. It goes anywhere from about 10 to 12 seconds in time. But for whatever reason, it might have been what we talked about, pit entry, where you're not on the clock. Maybe that's where Chavin lost all of his time. But he is out of the mix now as it's 5 cars up front. Hootaludis, Gaspers, McAreevy, Perry, and Yolland. Chavin gets out ahead of Doherty. We have a documented Doherty. He comes out in 7th. They are racing separated from each other and everybody else. Yeah, let's go back to the man who took that early stop. Jorn van Vent in a battle with Michael Shaw. Again, we're not sure if Van Vent can go the distance. This is a battle for 8th. You gotta figure if Van Vent was concerned about fuel, he would lift and let Michael Shaw do the work. So he must be feeling pretty confident.
Yeah, I think he got in within the window. I mean, as dramatic as an entry as that was, and whether it was intentional or not, I think that's part of the reason why he just kind of let it roll. Is it wasn't any point in fighting it, knowing that he'd probably be able to make it the rest of the way.
Before we focus up front, I just want to touch base. Let's go back to 3rd position, 13th. Sorry, Director. Let's talk about Robert Plumley. He's comfortable in 13th. He's got a nice distance between him. Alejandro Lerol in 14th. C. Love back in 15th. And Mo back in 16th. Under 10 minutes to go. The lead remains the same with David Gaspers. All right, Adam. Where do you want to be on the last lap?
Ooh, that's a good question. You know, I think I'd want to be in the lead. I think I'd want to be in the lead. And the reason being is that I've seen it a couple of times where the second place car just barely doesn't have enough time to make that pass complete by the start finish line. And by barely enough time, folks, I'm talking hundredths of a second. And that very well could be what this race is going to come down to here in about 9 minutes or so.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of the passes finish just before Doohan. Let's go ahead and stay on the leaders right now, and let's see if Hootaludis wants to make an attempt at the lead, or if anybody else. We'll see if the pass is done before the start-finish line. Let's see if Demetrius will help out the commentators here and show us what he's got. He's got a pretty good run. Here he comes. This is a legitimate run. Now he pulls out to the side, and he's right along, but like Adam said, he does not get there in time.
See, and the difference at the line on that lap was 38 hundredths of a second. So this race is going to come down to really measuring it, I think, by only fractions here.
And remember, 2 cars punch a huge hole, much bigger. So if you're in 3rd, you could really have a shot at it as well.
If you're in 3rd, though, if you're going to have a shot at it, though, you've got to have just a fantastic run onto the front straightaway, though.
Lap times of
Sorry, I was going to say, or have somebody like Jason Perry back there pushing you. And I would not be surprised to see bump draft really take a role as Demetrius is going to get a good solid look here on David Gaspers. David Gaspers is going to be able to fight back.
Hootaludis as they go now into Siberia. Okay, here we go side by side as they go up the hill now. This can open the door for McAreevy if he wants to. Again, look at the huge hole. Watch the driver in 3rd if he wants to force the issue. Boy, careful, boys. Too wide up into Lukey Heights, and yeah, the driver in 2nd backs out. Hootaludis says, I don't want any part of that. Now this gives McAreevy a chance to dive it in deep. Again, McAreevy does a good job. You can see the tires light up a little bit there. Spider-Man, Jason Perry back in 4th. Richard Yolland. How about a shout out to Richard Yolland? He is not, I don't think he's been any higher than 5th position this whole race, but he's in the hunt. Big lead now from Gaspers. The interesting part will be for 2nd position. Hootaludis being chased by McAreevy.
We've seen this before. This big gap will last about a lap.
And McAreevy decided, you know, I don't want the pass. What I will do is give you a big shot to get you back up there. Oh, no.
Ooh,
too much of a shot. He's off the grass. Hootaludis has got to gather it up. They all see it. Hootaludis wants to bring it on without losing a position, and he does.
Wow.
Woo.
We're going to ride on board with this, folks, and just watch how he's going to work the wheel here to keep this thing straight.
Oh, he gets it going the right direction right when he gets back to the tarmac.
And not just a great job on him, but a great job on Yalin, McGreevy, for Perry, for all missing him. As McGreevy has some sort of problem there.
Yeah, he got into it with Perry.
Yes,
right in Honda. And what it really did was, I think what he then ended up losing a concentration. I think he missed a shift coming out of Honda after the contact. Watch this. McAreevy's in the green and white striped car. That's Perry in the blue and red Spider-Man car. They get together on the exit of Honda. And then the green car does not go. Maybe it's just being polite. Whatever the case, they are all still together. But now they stretch out a little bit. The top three guys have a chance to pull away. Yeah, Yalin, look at this. Yalin with a 1.2 lead over Perry. Richard Yalin is having a great race. Just not making any mistakes, and now he's put himself in third. If he can stay with these guys up front, he's got to be careful that he doesn't lose the two leaders. They're up by about half a second. Hootaludis knows this as well. Hootaludis dives it down in there. And look at this. Yalin is back in the hunt.
In the whole Perry and McGreevy situation, who that might ultimately hurt, though, unless Yalin's able to get up here and fight with these two, might be Richard Holland, because if he wants to try to make a play on this thing coming to the line from third position, he was going to need somebody behind him to give him a shot and give him a push.
Almost contact as Hootaludis makes the move on the outside going into Honda. Gasper's now back into second. Yalin in third. The two cars behind, Perry and McAreevy, they got a chance to catch up if the front guys decide to battle. They're behind by 2.2 seconds. Jorn van Wendt took a tow. Oh, he had an off. It looked like it was...
Oh, yeah, he actually ended up rolling the car.
Here you go. And... ends up upside down.
Ooh, it's like the car just bit on him going the other direction. The tires is what puts him over, but that's going to be the end of his day, even with that tow and any kind of repairs. He won't get back out there.
All right, let's go back up front. They are side by side, and look at this. This time the pass was made. This time Gaspers was able to get around Hootaludis before the start-finish line. Yalin hanging on
by much.
Nope. The gap now 3 seconds, 3.2 seconds back to fourth place.
0.02 of a second was the difference between those two as Gaspers gets really loose again.
Man. The back half of the southern loop, Gasper really hangs the car out. Yalin now, through Stoner on the inside. Yalin's going to get up into second. He's going to be on the outside going into Honda. This will be a tough ask. And look at that. Yalin says, I've been racing smart all race. No need to be dumb now. He backs out of it. Back behind for fourth. We look at McAreevy in a drag race with Perry as they head down into Siberia. Perry on the inside. He gets that one, McAreevy, back into fifth. And a little bit of a bump. There you go. McAreevy says, okay, the only way for us to get up there is for me to help you. So McAreevy continues to bump Spider-Man.
Should get to the line here. Enough time to get the white flag this time by. So we're going to have one more lap here at Phillip Island.
They work through the MG corner. This is all about a chess match now. They know the white flag's coming out. Hootaludis in second. Yalin back in third. Let's see if Hootaludis wants to make the pass now. This will be his last chance to go into Doohan. Here he comes. He has the run. Hootalutus ducks to the outside, protecting the inside is Gasper.
Oh,
Gasper
here comes
was
Yalin.
across the line. Yalin with a big hole, nowhere to put the car, trying to find his way around. They're going to fight too wide going into the Doohan. They get that sorted out. Gasper hangs on to the lead. There are still plenty of places to make the pass, though, before they come around the final corner. They head towards Stoner. Yalin back there looking.
Demetrius loses it just a touch. I think he lost the handle on it just a touch, and that's going to give Yalin a little bit of a window. But what that's going to do is that's going to give Gaspers a little bit of a gap that they're going to have to try to fight back here.
Yalin backs out going into Honda, says, get a good entry in there, Hootalutus. We'll deal with it later. Now they head to Siberia. They're running out of passing zones. Smoking the tires a little bit is Gasper. Now they head up to Lukey Heights. Gasper with about a 4-car length lead over Demetrius Hootalutus. Richard Yalin has been watching the entire race from behind, picking off spots when the opportunity comes up, racing in third. They head through Lukey Heights. There's some bumping and banging behind. We'll get that later. We're going to stay on the leaders as they dive down into 10 into the MG corner. Demetrius Hootalutus might be too far back right now to get up to Gaspers. Gaspers looking for a clean run out of 11. Now they're on the throttle. He's got to be closer if he wants to get there before the finish line. Hootalutus is 3 car lengths back. Needs a great run out of Swan. He's 2 car lengths back. I think it's going to be too little, too late. Give round number 8 of the SRF Weekend Warriors to David Gasper. Hootalutus has to settle for second. Richard Yalin, with a great run, takes the final podium spot. Who gets fourth? Oh, in a close battle, it is Macquarie the over Perry in a race to the finish line. Doherty gets 6th. A driver we've hardly talked about, Jason Donington, coming out of Swan right now, all by himself in the number 88 machine. He's going to get 7th. Everybody else single file. Let's go to 11th. Remember this guy, Felipe Chavin, your pole sitter. Right now he's doing all he can do to hold off Daniel Sadro. He does. Chavin's got to be disappointed. From pole to 10th. Sadro has to take 11th. 20 cars will finish on the lead lap. The last one being Wayne Palmer. Back in 19th position. I apologize. There won't be 20. There'll only be 19. Let's assume Wayne brings it all the way around safely. The racing is over here at Phillip Island, but our broadcast is far from done. What we're going to do right now is take a short break. We'll be back to run down the entire finishing order, talk to some of the drivers before we put a lock on the gate. Back in a few. Welcome back to the Global SimRacing Channel's coverage of the SRF Weekend Warrior Series. Round number 8 from Phillip Island. The results are in. Let's give those to you now. David Gasper was able to hold off Demetrius Houdeludis for the win. Demetrius has to settle for second position, about a tenth of a second behind. Richard Yallen, a great race, just sat back there and took advantage of every opportunity. He gets the final podium spot. In a close battle for fourth, Jerry McAreeby was able to beat Spider-Man Jason Perry to the line. The back half of your top 10, Edward Doherty, Jason Donington in a quiet 7th spot, Michael Shaw, Antonio Reese, and our pole sitter, Felipe Chavin. Adam?
Yeah, how about that Perry McGreevy battle there? 0.003 of a second. All right, coming home in 11th, Daniel Sadro in 11th. 12th is going to be Alejandro Liro. Robert Plumley in 13th. And Jose, otherwise affectionately known as Mo, coming home in 14th. Ryan Sorrell, 15th position. Tom Gradwell in 16th. Jeff Cantor in 17th. Christopher Keeble in 18th. And Wayne Palmer in 19th position. And rounding out your top 20, Mathiel Daunt in 20th.
Daunt, the first car 1 lap down, as are the rest of these. Gary Walbolt in 21st position. Richie Valley did not put in a qualifying time, picks up 8 spots to end up in the double duck spot. Then we saw this driver end up on his lid. Jan Van Vent in 23rd position. C. Love also had trouble behind him. Neil Dawkins, all these guys are multiple laps down. Mihai Valisco in 26th. Fred Dreisix in 27th, and the last 3 drivers, Edgar Sanginelli, Jordan Dixon, and John Kern. There is your 30-car field. Let's go ahead and see if we have anybody that we can bring into the interview booth. Let's go ahead and we'll let Adam talk to our race winner, and that would be David Gaspers.
Yeah, David, hey, great race out there today, fighting up front pretty much all race long. Tell us about the draft out there today.
Yeah, it's really strong on this track. And I was struggling quite a bit with high temperatures and sliding all through the corners. So it was a tough race.
Yeah, that's one thing we were noting up here is just how much you were sliding around, and I think it was a great job on you and great job on everybody behind you to stay off each other when that happened. But do you think the winds played a role in that as well?
No, I'm just not really. I'm just bad at the track, to be honest.
Okay.
Compared to some other tracks, at least. And normally we had lower temperatures when racing on here, so I'm not used to the high temperatures and was sliding around because of it. I overheated my rear tires early on, and they couldn't go down again.
Well, and one thing I want to ask you about here too, real quick, David, your stop strategy. Did you know that you were going to have to come back in or come in as soon as that first group pitted?
I could have done one more lap, but I didn't want to go too close with the fuel, so I stopped at that lap.
All right. Well, hey, David, appreciate you stopping by. And I guess we'll see you here, at least on GSRC, in a couple weeks at Laguna Seca.
Not so sure about that track. I don't really like it.
Well, yeah. It's probably going to be another slick one for you, too.
David Gasper's your winner. That's what they all say right before they win the race. Let's go ahead and talk with our second place finisher, Demetrius. First of all, let's get this out of the way. Demetrius, let me see how I do on the pronunciation of your last name. We're going with Houdeludis. Can you say it for us?
Yep. Hello. The name is Demetrius Houdeludis. You're doing a great job.
Okay. Is that feels like it's got a little bit of a Greek origin to it. Am I right on that? Whoop, Demetrius, did we lose you there?
Yep, I'm sorry. I had the live broadcast and it's a little bit behind. Can you ask me again, please?
It feels like your last name or your name as in general has a bit of Greek in it. Am I getting right on that?
Yep, exactly. I am Greek.
And you're racing out of where?
I'm racing out of Greece as well.
Oh, are you in Greece? Right. Well, that's great. I don't know if we've had a driver in racing in Greece before. Not a lot of those. Let's talk about the race today. Well, you were fast. Did you want to be in second place coming into on the last lap?
To be honest, I wanted to win. I had amazing pace during the whole week here. It's one of my favorite tracks, but unfortunately I made some mistakes in the lap before the last one,
Right.
and I lost a half second, so I had to catch up. Didn't have enough time, and Richard was by my side as well.
Right, I understand exactly what you're saying. We documented that as we were watching it. Tell us a little bit about the wind today. Could you feel it in the car, the breeze?
No, I couldn't feel it at all. There was literally no grip at all. I was very scared, and I took a very cautious line in the beginning. I also had not such a good qualifying. I had a lot of drivers in front of me, but I managed to get to a spot to challenge for the win. So I'm pretty happy, especially after the incident.
I can't read my handwriting. Was it you that we saw off on the grass that you were able to bring the car back on without losing a spot?
Yeah, exactly. I had got so much speed because of the draft. I misjudged completely that tricky corner, and I don't really know how I managed to get back on the track and don't crash with the others behind. They're amazing drivers. Yeah.
You got the car going straight on the grass, and the concrete came right at the right time, and you kept it going. It was an impressive job of car control. Hey, congratulations, and good luck on the championship as you move a little bit closer to the top.
Thank you very much. Hopefully, I will see you on the next race as well.
Okay, thank you. Demetrius Houdeludis racing out of Greece. That's great to hear. I know that's a rarity. Haven't seen many of those. And I believe that's our last interview today. So with Demetrius gone, let's go ahead and give some thank yous to the people that made this race possible. And let's start off with the people at the SRF Weekend Warrior League for making this event a success, and especially to Steve Ray for organizing the entire affair and contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. We know you have a lot of choices when you fly. Thanks for flying, GSRC. Thanks to the company's equipment and software that you see on the screen right now that we use on the broadcast. The iconic original music that lets your ears alert your eyes you're watching a GSRC production comes courtesy of Eric Echolm and Casey Lalonde. See the screen to how to contact each of them. Adam?
Yeah, and the SRF Weekend Warriors, hey, they're gonna return here on GSRC on May 20th. That's gonna be for round 10 at Laguna Seca. So, as I was talking about a little bit earlier, it's going to be another track. We're going to see some slipping and sliding going on. GSRC is going to be there to bring you all the action. We hope you join us. Until then, take note of the upcoming broadcasts sliding across your screen now and mark them down on your calendar. If you'd like more information about GSRC, including a complete list of future broadcasts, you can find it all at www.globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global SimRacing Channel. And while you're here, if you haven't done it yet, subscribe by simply hitting the big red button that says subscribe on the YouTube channel.
Finally, on behalf of everybody at GSRC, including today's crew, Adam Young, and our director, Joe Peak, I'd like to thank all of you for watching. With that said, we're off to have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.